Welcome to episode 6 of the Fight Games Chronicles. I am James Lynch. He is Kevin Mabanga. Kevin, what's up, man? We got so much to talk about. So glad we're doing this on a Monday because we got a lot to get into. There was a ton of craziness that happened on the weekend, especially at UFC 257 on Saturday.
Good to see you, my man. How's everything been, man? I mean, it's been quite a weekend, right? And I think we should just jump right into it.
Let's do it. 257. By the way, I did see your guys' text. I was busy on Saturday. I was doing a live stream, but what a crazy fight. Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier knocking out Conor McGregor. Are you kidding me? We got it here in the notes. I mean, it was a huge upset, Kev. Just your reaction to the way that fight ended.
I mean, good performance by Dustin, and he took advantage of what was right in front of him, and he executed what he needed to do. We discussed this the week before, and we thought that he would come in a bit mentally weak from Conor playing the mental games, but Dustin was able to actually execute a good game plan, good leg kicks, and then just followed it up. Weathered a bit of a storm there when Conor was landing with that left hand, but man, I mean. It was good. So it was a good performance.
This, to me, was the worst case scenario for Conor. Now, look, I thought he won the first round. I thought he was doing well in the opening bell. That second round, I mean, him getting knocked out changes so many things. We'll get into the implications of this a second, but I think this was a huge upset in the way the fight ended. I mean, if you had told me Dustin Poirier was going to submit Conor McGregor, if you told me Dustin Poirier was going to edge out a decision if the fight went longer, I would have said no problem. But for Dustin Poirier to knock out Conor McGregor, first time McGregor's been knocked out in MMA, right? 27 career fights, never been knocked out. That to me is a huge upset just from that perspective. And the other thing is, Kev, I mean, how many knockout wins has Dustin Poirier had recently? Like none. He's fought Gaethje, he's fought Hooker. All those fights went the distance. So the fact that he did this against Conor, I think is a huge win for Dustin. I think it shows that he is a top 5, lightweight. I think he's definitely going to be fighting for a title next with this whole Khabib thing looming. But I mean, this was such a bad outcome for Conor because of the things we talked about leading into this with, the Pacquiao fight on the table, and we'll get into Pacquiao a little bit. But what did you think of the way the fight ended? I thought that was the bigger upset than Poirier just winning himself.
I figured if Poirier was going to win it, he was going to win like that. By with strikes, because he's a striker, right? He's a puncher. He has a good boxing coach. So I figured if he'd win, and then he's shown us before, like you said, knocking out a lot of dudes. So I knew if he was going to win, he was going to win that way, by just outpointing the guy with just more precision punching, just wearing him down with the punching. But I just didn't know if he was going to be able to put it all together. I was like, man, because every time, you brought him up to the biggest stage, he never performed at the highest level. You mean Max, he beat Max for the interim belt. That's probably his biggest win on the biggest stage for himself. But usually he came up short, when he came with the top 2-3 guys, he would always come up short. So to see him put it all together like that, and he showed us with the Hooker fight, he showed us with the Gaethje fight that he could do that. And he was shown us before a lot of times that he could do that. I just thought that Conor had his number because of their behavior leading up to the fight. And I always thought that being nice to Conor never works into getting the win. But yeah, it was brilliant. Great knockout. Good finish.
It certainly was. I got to correct myself. He actually did finish Gaethje late in the fight. I forgot about that. For some reason, I had it in my head. It was the decision. And he did finish Eddie Alvarez in the second round. So you're right. He has got some knockouts. It's just not recently. If you look at the last, 3 or 4 fights, it's been decisions. Dan Hooker decision, Max Holloway decision. So huge win for Dustin Poirier. Obviously sets up a lot of things. One of the questions after the fight, obviously, is, what happened, right? Like, how did Conor get knocked out here? Was it, the lack of drive? Was the lack of hunger? I mean, it certainly was weird heading into the fight where you're not hearing a lot of bad blood from Conor. You're not hearing any of that trash talk that you've seen in a lot of fights in the lead up. With this fight, it was pretty much non-existent. That begs the question, do you think Conor has lost some of that hunger? There's that whole boxing saying, I think it was Roberto Duran, you're not going to be winning titles if you're in silk sheets, right? So I think with Conor, he's got a lot of money. Does that get to his head a little bit? Did you feel like that played a role in this fight?
And that was Marvin Hagler who said that.
Marvin Hagler, sorry.
Yeah, it was Marvin Hagler who said that. But yeah, he definitely, the silk sheet thing now, so I mean, he's made a lot of money, and his businesses are flourishing, and I don't know, man. In my personal opinion, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys.
Yeah,
I think once he lost to Nate, he lost. Like, I think he lost something that night. Both fights, he lost a piece of him. He's never been the same after those 2 fights. I don't know if you guys have noticed or not. People just don't see this. His last 6 fights, he's 3 for 3. You know, he was on what, 15, 14, I don't even know how many fights he won in a row. Since those 2 fights, he's not been the same. And they gave him the decision, honestly. I think he lost the second fight, but you know, that just depends on who you're asking. I'm going to be biased because of where I stand, but at the end of the day, I don't think he's been the same since those fights. And maybe somebody could show me something different, but I know what I'm looking at, and I don't think he's been the same. Those were 2 very grueling fights for him, and I think it cracked the code. It showed people he's very hittable. It showed people he's not good on the ground, and he has knockout power. But if you're able to weather him early on, you know, and start bringing him later, or you outstrike him, or you put him to the ground, you're gonna get what you need, you know. So yeah, he was on a 14 winning streak before Nate. That's true. Then he fights Nate twice, and those fights were grueling fights. He gets choked out in one, and he gets a close decision in the second, which he could have argued for. We could go either way. And now he's 3 for 3 since that fight, you know.
Those are good points. I'm with you actually on the second Diaz fight. I mean, I think, you know, if that's any other fighter who's fighting Nate, he's probably not getting that decision, right? It was a very close matchup. I remember watching that thinking like, oh, I don't know if Conor edged that out. You know, it looked like Nate did a lot in that fight. So
they needed him to win that fight. They needed Conor to win that fight to keep this thing going. If he lost that fight, when we're not where we are, you don't get the Khabib, you don't get all of these things. You know, it takes a longer while for it to get there. So 3 for 3 in the last 6, and then it is what it is.
Well, I think too, I mean, we should be fair. He did fight Alvarez after that, knocked him out and won the title, but still, I get what you're saying. I mean, it's not like you're getting the younger Eddie Alvarez. It's not like you're getting a younger Donald Cerrone either in those 2 wins that you've had recently for Conor, right? So I'm with you there. You know, also some people have said, you know, since Floyd has he sort of lost his luster, I think what really it comes down to from my vantage point is the lack of activity. I mentioned it on the pre-fight show that Conor's only fought 3 times since 2017. Poirier had fought 8 times. You know, we talked about the damage he's accumulated. That didn't seem to matter. I mean, Poirier took some shots from Conor. He was fine. He went into that second round fresh and like nothing happened. So I think the activity is really hurting Conor. I think it is a lack of hunger. I think he should go train in some sort of Rocky camp and just get back to basics, you know, get rid of all the media and get another coach in there. You know, Kavanaugh is, you know, highly regarded as he is. I think Conor needs to switch things up a little bit, get a new camp, maybe not a full new camp, but do some cross training, do some things that are different to try and get back to the old Conor, because I don't think he looked terrible. I mean, it wasn't like Poirier was winning the fight from the opening bell. Actually scored Conor that first round, but I think in general, something has to change because he obviously can't compete with the elite if he's getting knocked out in the second round. Am I right?
Shit, I don't know what he needs to do, but he needs to do something, because he needs to do something, you know. He's gonna get an opportunity to get another shot at Dustin again at some point. You know, it's gonna happen because there's always money on the table when you've built yourself up like that. You know, you lose a little bit, but you're still, if you lose again, if you lose 2 in a row or 3 in a row or whatever the number is, then it starts getting real shaky. But you know, he's gonna get an opportunity to be able to fight again. What he needs to do, I don't know, bro. And maybe I am not in a position to be the one who tells him what he needs to do, you know? So, you know, everything is the fight game, man. You know, this is what fighting is. You know what I'm saying? You show up and you're not, you know, that guy, it's kill or be killed. And the guy sitting across from you, he's trying to get everything you worked for. And if you don't have the hunger to fight that man or prepare for that man, then that's on you. You know, that's on you. Nobody can, you know, your coach can't save you, nobody. So if that's what the problem is, and what I hear everybody talking about, oh, maybe he's just made too much money and he's, you know, too happy or whatever. I don't know if that's the case, then, but you know, he's 30, what is he, 32, 33? He's a young man. He's a young man, you know? So, you know, it's up to him what he wants to do, man. I'm not really in a position to tell him, you know, but if you're not built for this, then get out the game, you know? So it's that simple, or stay in the game. If you want to be here, then be ready, you know, but that can't be an excuse, you know, that just can't be. You know, so
was Poirier overlooked in this fight? I feel like he was, especially from a lot of the Conor fans. Like, I can't tell you how many people I saw saying, "Oh, Poirier's going to get destroyed." Like, I never felt that was the case. I always said that Poirier would do better. I did pick Conor to win. I'm not going to try and be transparent here, but or not tell you guys the truth here. I did pick Conor, but I think in general, Poirier was just, the whole narrative was, oh, it's going to be like the first fight, but really it wasn't. It was the opposite, right? Poirier knocked him out, so I think he was underlooked in this fight. What do you think?
Yeah, he was underlooked. If I was a betting man, I don't know if I said this on the last conversation podcast we had. But if I was a betting man, I would put my money, because it's a good bet. That's a really good bet. That's a good turnaround if you're putting money down, to put that little 100 down, get 400 out of it, like whatever. What was the odds? Like 375 was it, or something?
Yeah, it was something like that. I think Conor was like just over minus 300 as the favorite there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good bet. But I don't know, man. I didn't like was how they were behaving with each other, and I just felt like Buddy had his number for like, somebody beat me up like that, and he's gone on to talk all this shit and said all of that. I just wouldn't be as cool with Buddy as he was. But I think maybe that was part of his plan, to act like he was cool, and maybe that works on Conor too. Anderson Silva was really good at doing that. Anderson Silva was really good at softening you up nicely, shake your hand respectfully, never talk shit, but he was just softening you up. So it is what it is.
Co-main event, obviously big implications as well. Dan Hooker, Michael Chandler. I got to give you credit, Kev, because one of the things I said in the pre-show was that I think the height and reach is going to be too much for Chandler. It didn't matter. That power bomb of Chandler landed, and Hooker gets knocked out in the first round. Huge win for Chandler. I was trying to remember who's had good UFC debuts. Chandler's got to be up there. I mean, Anderson Silva, Chris Liebman comes to mind. Overeem and Brock Lesnar comes to mind. I mean, there's been some great UFC debuts, but Chandler played this perfectly. First round finish, great promo after the fight, calling out Khabib, calling out Conor. I mean, this was great by Michael Chandler. How impressed were you by him coming over from Bellator?
Yeah, it was a good win. Again, like, you always keep in mind, I want people to always remember this. When a guy is short and he's that small, he's used to fighting bigger guys, tall guys all the time. That's all he has. He doesn't meet a lot of short people. Everybody that he's going to meet is going to be taller than him, most likely, in his weight, especially at 55. So, but big guys are not used to fighting small guys. Mm-hmm. So, you're used to fighing regular sizes. And Dan is what, 6 foot, 5'11"? How tall is Dan?
6 feet tall. Yeah.
Yeah, he's 6 foot, and how tall was I think 5'7"?
5'8", I think.
5'8". Yeah. So most men Hooker would meet are 5'10", probably 5'10", 5'9", 5'11", somewhere there. And when you meet a guy who's, I don't even think he's 5'8", I think he's like 5'7", low key. So he just knew how to get underneath him, and he caught him with it. And Hooker was so caught up on the takedown and waiting for a guy to take him down that he forgot, to keep his hands up. Like, bro, the guy's, you're thinking about takedown the whole time, but you forgot the guy can strike a little bit too. So it was a good, win for him. It was what I expected. So yeah, good win.
Big win for Chandler. Do you think it's a blow for Bellator that Chandler came in here and did quite well? I have my thoughts on this, but I'm curious to, so you think it is?
Yeah, because they lost one of their best fighters over there. They don't have many, guys who are household names, let alone household names in entertainment or in sports, let alone in MMA, So then Chandler happened to be one, and Chandler doesn't have a name in sports or in big, in the hierarchy of things or entertainment, but in MMA he's a name. So for them to lose that guy. And he gave them a lot of good fights, and for him to come over here, it's a huge loss. This is kind of like, but again, UFC got Ben Askren, and the other guys won championship got Mighty Mouse. That was not a fair trade, right? But this wasn't a trade; this was a pickup. But I think this makes up for the Ben Askren flop that they thought was going to be big. Another guy coming in with a great debut and winning real good.
I'm glad you said that, because I actually disagree with you on both points. I actually think the Askren trade worked out better for the UFC, because if there's no Ben Askren, there's no Jorge Masvidal, right? Yeah, I mean, think about it. That fight with Masvidal, had he not got that flying knee, Masvidal's nowhere near the star he was. So yeah, I think the UFC won that trade. For Demetrius Johnson going to 1, it's great for them. But I mean, who's really tuning into 1 at 2 a.m. to watch Demetrius Johnson fight? The UFC got what they needed out of Askren. Yeah, he's not fighting anymore, but he was able to amplify George Masvidal's status. So that alone was a win for the UFC. Now with Chandler, I'll say this. I don't think it is a loss for Bellator, because you know what? He's 34 years old. They got everything they needed out of him. They also have a champion in Patricio Pitbull, who holds the last loss of Michael Chandler. He knocked out Chandler in the first round. You can sell that to the bank going forward with Bellator. You can say, we've got the guy that knocked out Michael Chandler, and we can build that on. And realistically for Chandler, I thought it was smart for him to go to the UFC. Who was he going to fight? He was going to rematch Pitbull. That's not a money fight. Who else was he going to fight there? He beat Benson Henderson. there aren't really any names there for Chandler to have sort of a big marquee fight in Bellator. He goes to the UFC, that opens up a lot of doors. So I think for Bellator, they got what they needed out of Chandler, and now they can amplify their champion even more, saying, "Hey, we got the guy who beat Michael Chandler." So that's why
I never thought about it like that.
There you go. That's why I'm here, man. Gotta get some variety.
Hey, Lynch, does Coker have you on payroll or what? What's going on?
No, not at all. No, but that's why. But that's also, yeah, but that's why I picked against Chandler this last weekend, because I didn't think he fought anyone. I mean, the Pitbull was probably one of the best opponents he's fought, but outside of that, you're getting an aging Benson Henderson. You're fighting Brandon Gertz. I mean, you probably can't even name half the opponents that Chandler fought in Bellator, other than maybe Eddie Alvarez, because they're just not that notable. Sidney Outlaw, sorry, he's not a household name compared to a Paul Felder like Dan Hooker fought. So that to me is where things are a bit different. But I don't think it's a blow for Bellator at all. So
great points. I never thought about it like that, because there was really nothing left for him to prove over there.
And you probably missed the troll job that Bellator did as well. Well, actually, it wasn't Bellator. So Pitbull did this. So Pitbull's manager, by the way, the guy's a genius. Matthias is his name. So he obviously tweets a bit for his client. He went and changed Pitbull's profile name to UFC. His profile is verified, right? He changed his profile name to UFC. He changed his avatar to UFC. And he wrote in the tweet, he goes, "We're really looking forward to Michael Chandler's debut tonight." And it's footage of Pitbull knocking him out. So people who follow
retweeting
thought that was the UFC tweeting that out, but it's his manager trolling Michael Chandler. Brilliant move, I thought. That's how. Is it
the little guy? No, I don't know his manager. Actually, I don't know.
No. His manager, you probably wouldn't know. He's kind of behind the scenes, but no. Pitbull's a good fighter. He trains with Henry Cejudo. He's pretty legit, and he's actually a double champ in Bellator. He has their 145 title and the 155 title. So
I know Pitbull. I know what Pitbull is.
So there you go. So that's kind of interesting. Anyways, the reason we bring up Chandler and Hooker, obviously, is because this sort of sets up what could be going forward for Dustin Poirier and everyone else. I should add, since we've gotten on this show, John Kavanagh did an interview with Ariel Helwani today on ESPN saying that Conor's angling for the trilogy fight with Poirier. I don't think that makes any sense at all. You just got knocked out. Why are you angling for this trilogy fight? I know it would make some money, obviously, with Conor losing, but I think Conor needs another opponent and then get back and fight Poirier after this. So the question is, what is next for Conor? What do you think he should do if you're his management?
I mean, it really, obviously he should be trying to chase that rematch, or he should be trying to fight Nate, right? There's only two ways he's going to go about this. He's either going to try to fight Nate or he's going to try to fight Dustin. But honestly, I think we're going to just let him sit out, and Dustin and Nate are going to get it on. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, the fight was made before, and I personally think that when the fight was made, now Dustin is ready, because now he's a star. Now, I don't want to say he's a star, but he beat a star. So he beat a superstar. So now there's a lot of attention on him. Now it makes a lot more sense for him to come in there and share the ring with him and Nate to share the ring together. So, but, I saw his interview, and, after the fight, so he said what he said, and, we oblige. Like, the big dog said he posted it. He didn't hide it. He posted it. So it's all right there for everybody to read it. And he's not a man to try to make a commercial. So when he says that, that's what he's saying. So that would be the best deal for Dustin and Conor. It's left for him to pick up the pieces and decide which way to go with it. Khabib's not available, so he's not going to give you a fight. And you're left with the rest of the guys. So it really comes down to what makes the most sense for him. Is it? I'll put it to you this way: most of those guys, if not all of them, would take a fight with Conor before they take a fight with Dustin. And when I say all of those guys, I'm talking about Oliveira. I'm talking about Hooker. I'm talking about Michael Chandler. I'm talking about, and the reason why is because it's a very winnable fight. You can see yourself winning, but it's what you get for winning that fight.
Exactly.
Right. So that's way more valuable than that, whatever fucking belt's around. The belt is for your honor and to say, it's a dream. You just envision it, but there's way more money over here, so there's opportunities there. If any of those guys are smart, if Oliveira is smart, he would try to get that fight with him. If Chandler's smart, he'll try to get that fight with any of those guys. If somebody tells you about a belt, don't even go over there. That'd be a good move for them. But yeah.
So here's what I think the UFC wants to do, and then I'm going to tell you what I think they should do. So
we know what they want, but go ahead and tell us.
So they want, okay, and this is obviously something that Dana sort of hinted. Dana wants Michael Chandler and Poirier next. It's an easy sell. You've got, in terms of two Americans who can talk trash. I mean, we have, well, not Poirier, but Chandler obviously can cut a good promo. Chandler just won. They were on the same card. I mean, they want that fight as two Americans in the main event who can sell a fight, right? I think that's what Dana wants. Poirier shot it down. He says, no, I don't want that. So that could lead to a couple things, either a McGregor trilogy. That could lead to him fighting Nate, like you said. That could lead to him fighting, Justin Gaethje, who we already beat, but still, Gaethje was the interim champ. Maybe he wants to fight that for the clout of that. Gaethje was the last guy to hold the interim title. So those are some options there for Poirier in terms of what he wants to do. Like I said, I think the UFC wants Chandler and Poirier. I think they're going to do, if that, from after that, it's either going to be Gaethje and Oliveira or Gaethje and Diaz, and then you still got Tony Ferguson out there. I know he's losing 2 in a row, but he's still a name as well. So it's sort of whatever. I think and we already know Khabib's not coming back. I mean, that's something we didn't talk about here, but it's pretty obvious. I mean, when you hear Khabib talk, when you hear Dana talk, he didn't sound too confident about Khabib coming back. So we can eliminate Khabib in case people are like, what about Khabib? I don't think he's coming back. So let's just pretend that he's not there.
All right, who's the draw? Okay, who's the pay-per-view star here? First of all, neither Chandler or Dustin has any track record of selling pay-per-views.
I agree.
So yeah. What are you doing this fight for? Are you just trying to keep things politically correct, or are you doing what's best for what needs to happen? What needs to happen is Dustin needs to either be facing Nate or needs to be facing Conor. There's no in between. And honestly, he needs to be facing Nate, because the fact that you booked that fight already, we stood there. We were in, where were we? In New York? What the fuck were we? I don't remember where the hell that shit was. Was it in Vegas?
In New York. Yeah, it was supposed to be that card, and then we did Cormier and Derek Lewis instead.
Yeah, and then we did Jorge in New York, and then we went to New York for Jorge. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, what else does it? That's pay-per-view, Now Dustin becomes a pay-per-view star, because now it's back-to-back, and then the pay-per-view that just happened with Conor, that's going to be in the top 5 sales, right? Mm-hmm. Top 10 for sure, right? He's going to be in the top 10. And then he won it so he could get to claim it as his. But really, we know Conor's the one that sold it. Okay, so you haven't sold a pay-per-view yet, buddy. Like, I know. I remember. James, the name of the game is to sell pay-per-views, period. And any fighter should understand this. So you just did numbers with Conor. The next logical thing for you to do is do more numbers. What's left? The only numbers you're going to do is with Khabib, Conor, or Nate. Khabib is chilling. Mm-hmm. Conor, you just whipped his ass. You could save that if you lose. You could save that in your back pocket for if you lose to Nate, or when you lose to Nate. And then you could run that back with him, right? So I'm over here giving away all the strategies of a manager and understanding how this thing works. But honestly,
I think it's common sense, though. You talked. You're 100% right. The draws in that division, you're right, are Nate, Khabib, and Conor. That's it. That's why I also think that if we're going off merit, which we know doesn't matter because they're more about a business than merit. If we're going off merit, Oliveira deserves the shot against Poirier, 100%. He destroyed Tony Ferguson. He destroyed Kevin Lee before that. He deserves the title shot. He's sort of this wild card out there. But the problem with Oliveira, like we talked about, he's not marketable. He doesn't speak English. A casual fan, I can walk into the grocery store right now and ask 100 people who Charles Oliveira is. I'll be lucky if one person knows who he is.
And he's good. And he's good.
Very good. Exactly. Yeah. It's a high risk fight for what you're getting in return, because he's not a pay-per-view seller. So if we're going off merit, it should be Poirier and Oliveira. Then you would do Chandler and Gaethje, and then you could either do, now for Conor, here's a name you didn't mention, and this is what I think could be some options for Conor. To me, it's 3 names for Conor next that I think makes sense. I guess 4th if we're including Poirier, but Nate, you could always do that trilogy. Okay. Tony Ferguson, because Ferguson's coming off 2 losses. He's still a big name, but Ferguson's 37. He's had a lot of injuries. He's also not fought as much as Conor. That's a winnable fight for Conor. And there's some bad blood there as well, because Ferguson used to be with Paradigm, which is who Conor's managed by. He left Paradigm because of being unhappy about the McGregor fight not happening. Now he's with VaynerMedia. That's an easy selling fight. And there'd be trash talk in that fight with Ferguson and McGregor, right? With the 2 going at it back and forth. So I think the fight to make is Ferguson. And then you've got Diaz, then you got whatever else. But the issue I think with Nate, unfortunately, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, obviously I support Nate and everything, but the problem is that's a tough sell to give him, which I would assume be a title shot with Poirier, because they're going to strip Khabib, or Khabib will vacate. That's tough. That's a tough sell off a loss. That's the only thing I think that would hold him back from getting that Poirier fight, because he lost to Masvidal.
Yeah, I mean, it was a stoppage, right? It was a doctor stoppage, and on top of that, 170. You know, we're talking about 155. We're going back down to 155. So, and then you need to sell something. At the end of the day, look, Chandler and Oliveira need to fight each other for who's going to be next. Okay? Because you can make a case for Chandler, you can make a case for Oliveira, you can make a case for who else? I don't know. You can make a case for, and then Chandler being a former champion, a guy who's held belts. Oliveira's never held no belts. So it's like, but at the end of the day, it's like those two are just not sellable with Dustin. You can't sell that. Who's going to be excited to watch that? Like, you got to, I don't care.
Hardcore fans, but you're right. The casuals do not care about Oliveira. You're right.
If you put that fight on that, okay, here's when I get excited to watch a fight like that. If that's number 2, 3, 4 on the card, I'm excited.
Right.
If that's my headline, I'm not excited about that.
I understand, 100%.
Yeah. And again, I may be biased, but people will see this and maybe they could tell us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If Dustin fights, I think Dustin and Nate. I think Chandler and Oliveira, and the winner of Chandler Oliveira get to now fight somebody who's even bigger, because you're talking about Conor, Nate, Dustin. So now you're talking about Dustin just fought Conor. Now he's fighting Nate. Now you can carry a pay-per-view. Yeah. Now you can carry a pay-per-view. You just fought 2 superstars. You could carry a pay-per-view. That's if you win, but I don't think you will. And then when Nate wins, then you could bring one of those guys and we'll carry them on the pay-per-view. You see what I'm saying? We'll carry Chandler on the pay-per-view. We'll carry Oliveira on the pay-per-view. You can sell that now. Now you can put any one of those guys on there who don't sell no numbers, and we'll carry it. You need somebody to carry the pay-per-view. If you don't have somebody to carry it, then you're not going to do numbers. And it's all about numbers, period. And it still makes sense because you don't know who to give the shot to between Chandler and Oliveira. Like, who's to say Chandler is more deserving of a shot than Oliveira?
He's not. He's frankly not. I mean, to me, Oliveira deserves it more than he does. If we're going by using the deserve word, which never really exists in MMA. But if you look at the body of work of who Oliveira's fought compared to Chandler, even if you go to Bellator, Oliveira's fought better.
I don't know about that. Maybe we need to look at somebody. We need to look at a list. Yeah, we need to get 10-10, like his last 10, his last 10, and then let's see who has the better resume. But no, Oliveira has a really good resume.
Oliveira. Come on.
Yeah, Oliveira has a good. But hold on. Chandler held a belt. Chandler was a champion. Is that
against not guys like Brent Primus? Do you even know who Brent Primus is? You probably don't. I can name Kevin Lee though. That's who Oliveira beat.
True. Because the UFC is a bigger company than Bellator. But hold on though. Does that not mean then what the fuck are they fighting for belts for then?
That's okay. Fair enough. But I think if you're looking at the overall body of work, Oliveira's fought better guys. And to me, but again, it's not based off merit, right? And by the way, I'll just something to piggyback off what you said about Nate. I mentioned him coming off a loss and fans being upset. Guess what? Guess how many title shots have been awarded to guys coming off losses recently? Yoel Romero lost to Paulo Costa. He got to fight Izzy last year,
James, right? That doesn't apply to us. That doesn't apply to the Diaz brothers.
Well, it's true. They can do whatever they want. No, but if anything, I'm supporting your case, saying that Nate lost his last fight. It doesn't matter. The UFC's been giving out title shots for guys losing, for a while now, or at least the last year. So anyway.
Yeah. So it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I know what the name of the game is. The name of the game is to sell pay-per-views.
It is.
And,
you're right.
And there's no better time for Dustin to be smart enough to say, okay, I already bodied this guy, and he's the biggest name I could body. What's the second biggest name I could try to body? That's going to be Nate. So come get some. Come step over the line. Come. Don't go running, chasing, looking for Khabib or looking. Nah, come right here. This guy called you out, and he doesn't go in there and call you. He may say this about this guy or this about that guy because these guys are all suckers in his eyes. And if they're not real, stand-up dudes, then they're just suckers. But he's called you by name, and he's already was going to take a fight with you. You backed out of the fight, or the UFC did whatever they did. Who the hell knows? So we still want smoke. Homie still wants smoke. And now you're ripe. Now you are perfectly ripe because now the world has seen you beat this guy, and they think that this guy is a god. The leprechaun is a god. So now it's like, all right, well, come on then. So it looks good.
Well, and this is the last thing I'll say on this is I love how you brought up the business side of things because it drives me nuts with fans when they're like, Conor should fight Islam Makhachev. He's Khabib's teammate. Conor should fight Ali Quinta. What planet are you living on where you think Conor should take a fight against anyone? It's a business, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to fight names. It's like RDA. People talking about Rafael dos Anjos. Oh, he's supposed to fight him in 2016. Nobody even remembers that. Everyone remembers him losing to Nate. They don't remember that he was supposed to fight Rafael dos Anjos. It's nuts, man. So, I'm glad you brought that up because it is a business at the end of the day. And that's why Poirier Diaz, it's kind of wearing on me a little bit in a good way. You know, I think
the name. I mean, we've been. Yeah, it's the name of the game. Let's call it what it is, okay? Because you know, you can even be a world champion, and if nobody knows who you are, like we talked about Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse is great. He's better than 90% of these dudes. He's better than all of them, all of these dudes. But how come that doesn't matter then? You know, like the best.
It's got to give you the feels. It's funny you mentioned Mighty Mouse. I was at his fight against Horiguchi in Montreal at the Bell Center. Bell Center's huge arena. That's where GSP had his first fight.
17,000. I know that arena very well.
I was for that fight. Did you know that they closed off the upper bowl for that card because that's how poorly it sold?
That's so sad. That's so sad to me.
It's business. Nate Diaz headlines that card. I guarantee you those upper rafters are filled, right? It's a business. Sold out.
Yeah, you know, it's a business. So we gotta sell pay-per-views. And then it's not even like, oh, you're picking a guy who can sell pay-per-views but can't fight. No, you're picking a guy who is most likely gonna beat this guy. So the chances are there. It's a good fight. You know, it doesn't matter, oh, what happened here. No, it's a really good fight. Even with that, they were gonna make that a headline for a pay-per-view without a belt. Okay? UFC does not do that. Without a belt on the line, and they were going to make it a headliner for a pay-per-view in New York for the second, third time we've been in New York, you know? So come on, guys. Like, I know what it is. It's the business is the business, and I understand it. And my guy is perfect. My guys, my team, my gang is perfectly suited for this moment. So, you know, we'll see if Dustin backs out or accepts the offer, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, just the buildup for that would be amazing. So I mentioned how this is the worst case scenario for Conor, and part of the reason is because of the boxing thing. Now, like I said, if McGregor got submitted, if he loses a decision, I don't think that affects his boxing, because then you could say, oh, well, it's MMA. He just lost in an MMA fight. But the fact that he got knocked out, Kev, I think really hurts his chances of fighting Pacquiao. And we're going to talk about Pacquiao in a sec because there's some news about him. But the second that fight ended, I thought, there goes the Pacquiao fight. Because how can you sell that? I know it's a business, and I know wins and losses don't count, but the fact that he got knocked out means that that's a tougher sell for a boxing fight in my eyes. What do you think? You're more of the boxing guy than me. Does that hurt him?
Okay. So all right. So let's assess how he got knocked out.
Yeah,
he got knocked out because of the leg kicks. The leg kicks is what stopped that front leg from being able to plant to throw, and then he was on one leg for the last 45 seconds of that fight.
Correct. Yeah.
And once that happened, because he was touching Dustin, he was hitting him, and he had him hurt at the end of the first, or you know, he was a little shook up at the end of the first. So coming into the second, those leg kicks started getting implemented more. And then when he hit the right leg kick on the right nerve on that right leg, that's all she wrote. That's all that was needed. Now you've completely taken Conor's power away from him. You've taken all of the threat away that is Conor McGregor, which is his mobility, his reach, distance. He knows how to cover distance, and he's good throwing a jab and following up with a left hand. And you took that away because he took the front leg away, which is what he likes to pivot on, and which way he likes to plant, and he can't throw from there. So now all you really got to do is overwhelm him with punches, and then you start taking him down from there. So in boxing, you can't throw no kicks, you know. Right. So you can't throw no kicks. So you're gonna have to beat him like Floyd beat him, and he's very beatable. You know, you bring him late. The later you go, the worse his performance gets.
Exactly.
So it's still there. It's still sellable. You know, it's not done. Like, people think it's like the end of the world once a guy loses a fight. It's not done, especially not that guy.
Getting knocked out though, don't you think? I mean, this guy could have RoboCop legs, and it doesn't matter. The end result is when you look on the score sheet, it says TKO loss. That to me, I think does hurt his chances.
It's a great meme, by the way. That's a really good meme.
I saw the meme. You know, I'll be honest. I'm not. You know what I will say though? It is kind of interesting. So you see the people throwing around all the memes and stuff, and I get it. Look, like, and they've done it for every fighter, Cormier, whoever, right? But it is kind of funny though, because I guarantee you, those same people sharing the memes were the same people that got into MMA because of Conor. A lot of them. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
I do find that funny. They're fair weather fans, man. It's hilarious.
Yeah, fighting is a very fickle sport.
Fair weather. Yeah, it's only as good as your last fight, but.